Hare Krishna. It is Sunday morning, February 26, 2017 on Bhuloka, Earth. And we're here in Los Angeles, and we're having a little Gita class. And we're going to, by popular request, we're going to read from the Bhagavad Gita 3:30. So first I'll read the Sanskrit, and then the verse and purport, and then we'll all begin to speculate. Just kidding. So, Mayi sarvani karmani. Very interesting. Sannyasa dhyatma cetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva bigata jvara. That's the verse, right? Therefore, O Arjuna, Prabhupada's translation purport, therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. So, Prabhupada's purport. This verse clearly indicates the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord instructs that one has to become fully Krishna conscious to discharge duties as if in military discipline. Such an injunction may make things... You can lean on that if you want.
I don't want to take a particular class.
Oh, yes. Such an injunction may make things a little difficult. Nevertheless, duties must be carried out without dependence. Must be carried out with dependence on Krishna. Whoops. Because that is the constitutional position of the living entity. The living entity cannot be happy independent of the cooperation of the Supreme Lord. Because the eternal constitutional position of the living entity is to become subordinate to the desires of the Lord. Arjuna was therefore ordered by Sri Krishna to fight as if the Lord were his military commander. One has to sacrifice everything for the goodwill of the Supreme Lord, and at the same time discharge prescribed duties without claiming proprietorship. Arjuna did not have to consider the order of the Lord. He had only to execute his order. The Supreme Lord is the soul of all souls, and therefore one who depends solely and wholly on the Supreme Lord without personal consideration, or in other words, one who is fully Krishna conscious, is called Adhyatma Chetas. Nirashi means that one has to act on the order of the master, but should not expect fruitive results. The cashier may count millions of dollars for his employer, but he does not claim a cent for himself. Similarly, one has to realize that nothing in the world belongs to any individual person, but that everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. That is the real purpose of Mai, or unto me. And when one acts in such Krishna consciousness, certainly he does not claim proprietorship over anything. This consciousness is called nirmama, or nothing is mine. And if there's any reluctance to execute such a stern order, which is without consideration of so-called kinsmen and bodily relationship, that reluctance should be thrown off. In this way, one may become vigata jvara, or without feverish mentality or lethargy. Everyone, according to his quality and position, has a particular type of work to discharge, and all such duties may be discharged in Krishna consciousness, as described above. This will lead one to the path of liberation. So I'm going to speak on that. Okay, let's take a look. Sarvani karmani. Sannyasya dhyatma cetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigata jvaraha. So, Krishna says, Mai, unto me, or in me. Sarvani karmani, all your actions. Sannyasya, surrendering or giving up. It's interesting, the word sannyasa, here's the verb, of course. Sannyasa is a noun. Here's the verb, sannyasya. And the word sannyasya, that kind of frightening word, is actually made of three components, semantic parts. Sam means together or completely, like all together, as in Sankirtan. Ni means down or within. And asa, placing. And so sang also means properly. So sannyasa literally means putting things where they're supposed to be. So there's another Sanskrit word, tyaga, which just means rejecting something, giving something up. That's not the word sannyasa. Sannyasa doesn't mean rejecting. It actually means putting something in the right place. And of course, because we're part of Krishna, it just means to offer our actions to Krishna. So what does that mean? What if you're baking a cake? It means that there's the action itself, which is called karma. The Sanskrit word karma, from the root kri, from which we get English words like create. Yeah, and Krishna. Actually, no, Krish, that's from Krish, but create is from the same Indo-European verbal root. So anyway, but who gets to enjoy the cooking? Krishna. Not only does it mean we offer the cake to Krishna, but we should cook it in a way that's pleasing to Krishna, which means, vegetarian, no eggs in the cake. And so the action is the same, karma. Karma, the most basic meaning of the word karma is just actions. So there's the action itself, and there's follow-up. You bake a cake, that's an action. What's the fruit of the work? The cake. The fruit of the work is not only the cake, it's also the experience of eating it, the enjoyment of the cake. So in a sense, in terms of human experience, the result of baking is the cake itself and the enjoyment, the experience of eating and enjoying the cake. So to say that belongs to Krishna, or Krishna says, offer that to me, it doesn't mean that all of humanity starves to death because all the food gets offered to Krishna and everyone else starves. The point is, it's about purpose. Like, what is your purpose in doing this? Why are you doing this? And we always do things to please someone, either ourselves or someone else. Because otherwise, if you didn't think that a particular action would please yourself or someone else, why would you do it? Why would you do anything? Why would you walk down a street unless you think that it's in your interest to walk down that street? Because you're going to go somewhere, you need the exercise, or you hope you'll meet someone you wanted to meet. So unless people have, the very notion of a purpose is that you want something. If you don't want anything, then how can that be your purpose? And if you want something, why do you want it? And then we get into material and spiritual life. I want it because it will please Krishna, or it's what Krishna wants, or I want it just to gratify myself. So we certainly have to take care of ourselves in this world, but Krishna has given us a devotional program which includes our own survival and even flourishing. In chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Anena prasavishadvam. Anena, by this process of offering to God, prasavishadvam, you will flourish. So this is not just a survival program. It's actually a program to have a great life, to flourish. And Krishna says, but if you want to flourish, if you want to have a happy, abundant life, then the way to do that is by offering everything to me. So Krishna says here, Mai sarvani karmani, all your activities, sannyasa, relinquishing unto me, giving to me. Adhyatma cetasa, with adhyatma consciousness. So adhi in Sanskrit means above or over. And so adhi atma means something like the higher self. And the reason, then why not just say atma? Because the word atma can just mean the self in the ordinary sense, like do it yourself, or like self-service car wash. You know, if you had it in Sanskrit, it could be like atma seva, self-service. So the word atma means, in philosophical Sanskrit, can mean the soul, the self, but also can just be the reflexive pronoun, like self-service or self-imposed problems, whatever. Atma. So, therefore, sometimes in philosophical Sanskrit, to make clear that we're really talking about the soul here in a philosophical sense, the prefix is put on adhyatma, the higher self, the real spiritual self. So Krishna says that offering all your actions to me with consciousness of the higher self, adhyatma cetasa. Because, for example, let's say someone wants to get married, so they try to make themselves look attractive, and so you may know your spirit soul, but you got to go out there and act as if you were a cute body. And so that's so even someone who has spiritual knowledge, or for example, let's say you're applying for a job, so you dress up in a certain way, or you're trying to, trying to get a bank loan or anything. And so a lot of the times in this world, we just have to do business as our bodies. Like when we fill out forms, birth date, if you say, soul is never born, if you're filling out an application for a visa or a passport or a credit card, or to get into some college and they say date of birth, and you say, Najayate mriyate va kadachan, the soul is never born and never dies. You definitely won't get the credit card or the visa or the whatever else you're applying for. So therefore, to make that clear, sometimes it's said adhyatma, the higher self, the real eternal self. With consciousness of that, because if you're conscious of your higher self, then you know that you're part of Krishna. If you don't know you're part of Krishna, you're not conscious of your higher self. So if you are conscious of your higher self, who you really are, then you're going to offer everything to Krishna. Because that's who I am. I'm part of Krishna. Like Prabhupada said, the hand is part of the body, so the hand feeds the body. And then near Ashir. Ashir means like hope, like that old song, hoping, wishing, and hoping. Anyway, sorry, 60s. So near means without, like nirvana, without vana, without the current of material life. Near means without. So near Ashir means without Ashi, which means yearning, hoping, praying for something material. And near mama, they have a very nice little shortcut way to say without possessiveness in Sanskrit. Without possessiveness, we use 7 syllables, which is really clunky. But in Sanskrit, they can just say near mama. Mama means mine. Mine, that's mine. It's not yours, it's mine. Mama. So without mama, without it's mine. That's how you say without possessiveness in Sanskrit, near mama. And oftentimes they'll say near mama, near ahankara, without possessiveness, without self-centeredness, false ego. And then bhutva, becoming nirashi, becoming a person who has no material hankering, and becoming a person who doesn't claim that anything is mine. I mean, obviously, if I come into my little apartment here one day and someone else is sleeping in the bed, I'm going to call the police and get the bum thrown out. But the point is that, unless it's some great personality. So, but the idea is that it's for Krishna. This is what I do in my service. So, in the real world, you don't just hand some thief the keys to your car and say, enjoy it. I mean, obviously, in the real world, we have to protect our so-called property. But if we see ourselves as servants of Krishna, then it's like if you work for the post office. Abhiram used to work for the post office, and you get one of those cute little cars to drive around, little post office trucks. You drove those? Oh my God. And so it's not yours. I mean, if someone comes and wants to steal it, you don't just give them the post office car. You protect it, you take care of it, but it belongs to the government. So our body is government property. We have to take care of it, but it's not really ours. So that's nirashir nirmamo bhutva, and then yudhasva, fight. It's just the second person singular command, fight. Yudhasva vigata jwara. Jwara means fever in Sanskrit. And vigata literally means gone away, with fever gone away. Gata is gone, and V is like Italian via, which means away. Think of the word away and way, like in so many Latin languages, like to say, like, let's say, Maple Way, like the name of a street, they'll say like via whatever, via this, via that. So it means way, but also it means away. So you can see that connection. And that's, of course, just the via from Latin is just Sanskrit V, which means away or separation. So, so here you have vigata, literally gone away. Vigata, away, gone. And so your fever has gone away. And if you think of a fever, what a fever is, when people have bad fever, they become delirious. They become, they hallucinate. And so if our material desires become very strong, we just hallucinate. We're just like in this feverish, crazy state where we can't see reality. So that's the verse. Any questions on this verse?
I have a very practical question, actually. Whenever you feel, so our feelings and our emotions lead us to want something, to crave something, and this is where mind goes away. So what practically you do when you find, like, at least you're a little bit aware, okay, this is what's going on. Like, what practically you do not to follow your cravings, but to follow your intelligence.
Right. Interesting question. We have to take the antidote, which is passion. If so, everything we do, we are recreating our consciousness. So you choose certain food. If we eat food in passion, like passionate hot food. But so if we eat that passionate food, if we associate with passionate people, if we choose to live in a very passionate place, if we listen to passionate music, if we just, then once you've made those choices, then you will be overwhelmed by passion. And mode of passion, Krishna says that in the mode of passion, intelligence, ayatavat prajanati, understands things inaccurately. Ayatavat means inaccurately. So in terms of what's good, what's bad, this will help me, this will hurt me, this will make me happy, that will make me unhappy, you get it wrong. You just get it wrong. And the reason is because of passion. So that's why we have to be so careful who we associate with. And like I said, even things like food, music, people, if you associate with passionate people, it will rub off on you. You can't hang out with passionate people and think that you're going to be peaceful and good. It just doesn't work that way.
Can I ask you one more question?
Sure, you can. We have a 2-for-1 offer. Sunday special.
You were talking about passionate mood. From how I see it, whatever is going on, whatever we are doing, we use this energy to create. So this energy can be destroying, but also it can be creative.
Very interesting point. Okay, let's think about that. It's true, and what you're saying is true, that let's say, for example, that whether I like it or not, at this stage in my life, I have a lot of passion inside of me. So what do I do with it? Let's say I try to live a good life to strengthen the goodness in me, but still it's going to take a while because there's all this passion in me. So then I have to find service. No, it's fully satisfied just eating and sleeping. Occasional chanting. Anyway, so, but I used to, you go everywhere. So if you have a passionate nature, or to some extent a passionate nature, you need to be really, really active in Krishna service. You can't just come once every 2 weeks and make a flower garland and think that that's going to engage all your passion.
So basically you're saying if you have a passionate nature, it's a choice where you invest it, like either you go to do.
Very true. That's very true. And at the same time, it's like, for example, let's say you're driving your car and you're going really fast and the car starts to skid. Then you shut off the engine, or you take your foot off the brake, but then there's the momentum, so you just have to wait till the car naturally slows down. So you have to do two things. You have to steer the car in a way that's safe at that speed. So right now your mind's going at a certain speed because of passion. So you need a safe place where that passion can be engaged spiritually. But at the same time, you have to take your foot off the gas. Is there water? If you keep your foot on the gas, the car will never stop. And the gas in this case means material passionate activities. And then covered right here, I have this Parachupa aquí, la primera. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah, so we can't, like if someone has a passionate nature, they can't just sit and make a flower garland, flower garland. You need dynamic activities and engage all of your abilities. Yeah, we have to, and that's what Krishna says. Actually, if we just go down 3 more verses, with your permission, we'll go down 3 more verses. Shloka Bha.
But I want to ask about this one still.
Okay, I'll just go down 1 more verse and I'll go back to yours.
Okay.
Promise. In 33, Krishna says, Sadrasham cheshtate swasya prakitir jnanavanapi. Even a wise person who has knowledge, acts according to their own nature. Prakritim janti bhutani. Creatures follow their nature. Nigraha kinkarishati. What will repression do? So, for example, same example, let's say you're in the car, and the car is going fast, and then you're starting to lose control of the car or something. So you take your foot off the gas, but the speed of the car is a reality. You have to deal with it. So even if you, the soul, decide, I don't want sense gratification, I want to serve Krishna, but the mind has all this momentum. And the mind has all this momentum, but you've got to find, again, a safe place to steer it. So Krishna says, because we haven't, and the word here, everyone has their nature, he's talking about our material nature. And so we have to engage the body realistically. If your nature is to be a singer, writer, or business person, or, a scholar, or just artist, just whatever your nature is. In fact, Krishna says it's dangerous not to engage your nature. He says, paradharmo bhayavaha. Twice he says this, actually, twice Krishna indicates that it's dangerous not to do the duty which comes from your nature. If you do someone else's duty, then you're not engaging your own nature, and that will pull you down. So you have to find your real vocation, your real career for Krishna. Yes?
Where does this fever come from?
Huh. Where does the fever come from? When Arjuna asked that, I'm like, what's going on here? Where does this come from? Krishna said it comes from the mode of passion. It's not intrinsic to the soul. The soul is not by nature passionate. The soul is pure. But if I choose, for example, my body is not naturally full of grease. My skin is not naturally full of grease, but if I touch some greasy object, then my body becomes greasy. Or if you touch wet paint. And so the soul is not by nature passionate. However, if I'm attracted to passionate things, people, food, music, places, if I'm attracted to passionate things, then I'm covering myself in that passion. I'm empowering the mode of passion to take over my life.
So from there comes fever that stops you from doing your duty?
Yeah, it stops you from being sane.
So basically, you go into, let's say, to a passionate places, people, things, in order to make it your to use your nature, but you're actually going away from it.
Yeah, because, for example, let's say you like Bananas, for example. To give an example I've really never used before. Let's say you like bananas, but if you eat a banana that's contaminated, you'll get sick. You may die. So, for example, let's say you're an artist. So you can use that ability or that propensity in a way that glorifies Krishna, or in a way that makes people forget Krishna and degrades the artist. So it can be the same category of activity, like, art, business, scholarship. You can do scholarship to increase your Krishna consciousness, or it may just create doubts in your mind and spoil your spiritual life. So it really depends on how you do it. Same thing in relationships. Some relationships make us forget Krishna, and some relationships make us remember Krishna. In both you get a big hug. But the difference is, so it's that's the thing. If you go to the store, there's good food and there's poison.
But even with so much, we know that knowledge, still how come we're still doing the service, we're doing whatever is mode of goodness, still the mind keeps pulling into mode of passion, even though you're trying to eat Krishna Prasadam as much as get association, hearing, still that happens.
Yes. That was Arjuna's question. If I can find it very quickly, Arjuna's question. That's in chapter 6. That'll cost you extra. Sloka. So Krishna explains in chapter 6 the process of yoga and mind control. What a perfect yogi is, actually, says Atmopamyana, by universal empathy, seeing everyone. Because if you see someone as yourself, you don't lust after that person because you see it's a soul. So after Krishna explains, he says, Sa yogi paramo mata. This is the highest yogi, supreme yogi. Then Arjuna says, wait a second. Arjuna says, Yo young yoga patoya prokta, this spiritual path that you described to me briefly, Madhusudana, I don't see it. He said, I don't see how I can really achieve a steady Krishna conscious position because the mind is just so nutty.
Yeah.
Because in chanchala, it's interesting, chala means moving to the mind. Then chanchala is sort of like just all over the place, And so sometimes it's translated as fickle, but it just means just not like you take a balloon filled with air and just poke a little hole. That's kind of like chanchala. And so that's how Arjuna describes the mind.
But we have to function in this world, and so going to work, all those energy rubs on you.
Okay, so let's see what Arjuna. Okay, what else? So then, okay, true, it does. So then Krishna says, Sri Bhagavan Vacha Samsayam, no doubt. First he said, no doubt. Samsayam, no doubt. No doubt, mighty arm, great arm one. Mano dur nigrahang, the mind is hard to keep down, literally. It's hard to keep down. It's always moving. Abhyas. Then Krishna says, Abhyasena tu konteya. However, konteya, by practice. By practice. Interestingly, nowadays we use the word sadhana, like sadhana bhakti, but at the time of the Gita they use another word they use for that, abhyasa. So the word abhyasa in the Gita means the same as what we mean by sadhana in more recent Sanskrit. So abhyasena tu konteya, however, konteya by abhyasa, by practice, by ragena, and by detachment, sagriyate, the mind is finally captured, and the mind is. So, say you go to work. That's why I took sannyasa. I knew I couldn't do a real job. So let's say you go to work, and you have to really be clear that you're doing it for Krishna. So, for example, you're going to Memphis, right? So, if you go to Memphis with the spirit that Krishna is sending me there to bring Krishna consciousness to that place, then when you're working, and of course, obviously you're working to get paid. If you weren't paid, you wouldn't be working there. Not out of just sheer love of that job. Oh, you don't have to pay me, I just love to do it. No, that's not what's going on. So, but if you're not, because obviously you work to get money, and you need money, you need to put a roof over your head, you need to have food, and you need to, so on, utilities. So if you're just doing that, if you're just living your own life, and you're not really doing any significant service for Krishna, then yeah, why am I doing this? All I'm doing is serving my body. But if you make that house a place where you serve Krishna, especially by telling other people about Krishna, then when you're at work and you inevitably ask yourself, why am I here? Why am I doing this? There's a good answer. Because by this work, I'm maintaining a center where I can, as Krishna's instrument, help to save souls. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm working. So when you ask the question, why am I at this job, you have to find a really good answer. Not just abstract philosophy, like I'm doing it for Krishna, even though I don't think of Krishna while I'm at work, and even though I don't really see what good this does Krishna. So that's what changes everything. If you make your home into Krishna's home, and you serve Krishna, of course offering food and things like that, but also inviting people and really make a Krishna center, then when your mind says, why am I working, there's a good answer. So it's not artificial, it's not just like some kind of mental contortion, but really find a good answer to that question in your real life by preaching. See that one-stop shopping? Krishna will solve all your problems. Anything else? If not, I guess that will be the end of this class. So first I'll stop the recording.